Southern California, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Today we have ourselves quite a show, as we have a lot to get into in the world of Southern California sports, such as it's week 1 in the NFL officially, as the Rams and Chargers gear up to take on the Seahawks and the Dolphins. Except for the Rams, they'll be doing battle without one of their key players in Cooper Kupp. Can the Rams get the job done, and can the Chargers get the job done against Tua Tagovailoa and the Dolphins? Also, the Lakers signed Christian Wood, which is pretty good if you ask me. Gives them another big man down low, and it also gives Anthony Davis some help down low as well. Also, the Angels continue to spiral out of control, but at least they're not alone, as the Dodgers have been having some bad luck as well, as they now have a season-ending injury on their lineup as well, and one of their players did something really dumb, which I'll be discussing a little later on as well. But in the world of NWSL, Angel City continues to win, and Wave FC is all alone in first place in the NWSL standings, which is really good. Also, I have to give a shout out to El Segundo's Little League team. This is a long overdue shout out to them. They won the Little League World Series, which was really awesome. I really needed to give them a shout out. It was long overdue. But I have to discuss that and more on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Friday morning, Friday afternoon, Friday wherever you are listening from. Either way, you've made your way to episode 148 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. And without any further delay, let us begin. But first and foremost, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show would not be where it's at without IE Sports Radio providing the platform to go live on Spreaker. Please do follow IE Sports Radio on several different social media platforms, such as Twitter, now known as X, which I don't agree with, Instagram, and on TikTok at IE Sports Radio. We also have a Facebook page. All you just have to do is type in the word IE, then sports, then radio in the search bar, like us, and then boom. That's how you're able to follow us and get all your daily sports updates. Also, check out our daily updated website, www.iesportsradio.com, for all of your sports news, our blog, our Hall of Fame, our Fans of the Month, our pages dedicated to each podcast, our community forum, and our shop and merchandise. Our shop and merchandise feature. Also, we basically have everything that you need and more on our website. And definitely do check us out. And also, we have pages dedicated to our podcast, including this one for the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Because for the past 9 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we've been continuing to be by the fans and for the fans. And thanks to you, we're continuing to do what we do. Thank you for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all of that sports. And a huge shout out to our sponsor, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, the single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, low in sugar, and high in protein. This is some of the best jerky you can get your hands on, and all you have to do is visit www.planetjerky.net and place your order. Follow Planet Jerky on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Once again, huge shout out to our sponsor, Planet Jerky, premium brisket beef jerky. The jerky that's on a whole other planet. And with all that said and done, let us begin. As I can't believe I'm about to utter these words, but it is week 1 of the NFL. I can't believe it. The NFL is basically back. And it all happened yesterday as the Chiefs and Lions basically faced one another. And yeah, I know that's not real. I know this is not the Kansas City or Detroit sports show, but honestly, the Kansas City Chiefs and Detroit Lions faced one another. Lions won 21-20, and I do gotta give a shout out to Amon-Ra St. Brown, the former USC and modern day standout, who caught a touchdown pass from Jared Goff, who was a former LA Ram. So have to give them their flowers as well, even though they're playing for the Detroit Lions. But I have to give them their flowers. All right, now let's move on to the actual Rams and the actual SoCal team. So let's start off with the Rams, even though the Rams and the Chargers are playing both at the same time, just because I got to go in chronological order. So for the Rams, they are playing the Seattle Seahawks at Lumen Field in Seattle. Now, for the Rams, this is going to be an uphill battle. I was a little confident thinking that they were going to actually win their first week 1 match against the Seahawks. But earlier in the week, I want to say it was Wednesday or Tuesday, I got the news finding out that Cooper Kupp was going to be out due to a hamstring injury that he suffered in training camp. Now, this is really bad because, sadly, Cooper Kupp is kind of the key piece for the Rams. And he's kind of that big-time piece that the Rams really need. And it's unfortunate because the Rams really need that guy. He is that guy. He is him. And without Cooper Kupp, they're going to have to rely on the likes of Van Jefferson, Ben Skoranek, Tutu Atwell, and the list goes on and on. So Larry B pops in the chat room. He says, SoCal. Thanks for popping into the chat room, Larry B. All right, but back to the Rams. This is going to be a very, very, very tough matchup just because, yes, they do have Matthew Stafford. Yes, they do have Aaron Donald. Yes, they do have Cam Akers. But you look at that Seahawks team. They're on the road. They're playing one of the better wide receiver cores, if you ask me. And that Seahawks team is actually pretty darn good. Now, I was kind of confident that the Rams could get second place in the NFC West. But now, looking at it, it's not looking all that great just because, well, without Cooper Kupp and the possibility of him going on IR, as that could be a possibility according to Sean McVay, because he even said that IR is not out of the question, that could be somewhat scary. So I really don't want to say the Rams are going to lose, but all signs are pointing to them coming out on the bottom. So I really don't want to say they'll lose. I think they have a fighting chance, but I just don't think that the Rams will come out on top. It's a road game, and even though Geno Smith isn't the greatest quarterback, I just think that Seattle is just too good, and they have so many good weapons. And even though Kenneth Walker III was limited yesterday due to, I think, a groin injury, I don't think that's going to ultimately slow him down. And they also have Zach Charbonnet, who, in my opinion, is probably going to be a good running back too. So for the Rams, I kind of have them losing this one because I got to be realistic with the Rams and the Chargers. I have them losing 31-21. Now, I don't think they're going to get blown out, but I don't think they're going to win. I'm going to be realistic. I don't think the Rams are going to win just because I just don't think they have the horses to keep up with the Seahawks. I just don't think they can keep up with the Seahawks in that level of talent. And while Sean McVay is a great coach, I just think that Pete Carroll is definitely going to outcoach him just because Pete Carroll is the Jedi mind, is going to have those Jedi mind tricks, and he's just super duper wise. Even though the poor guy kind of eventually snuck his way out of SC and whatnot, but I digress. So for Seattle, I unfortunately have them getting the win over the Rams. I hope that's not a running theme for me picking against the Rams this season. I really want the Rams to have success, and I really want the Rams to make the playoffs, but all signs are pointing to the Rams losing this week. So I got the Rams losing. If the Rams do win, I will gladly eat my crow, but I just don't see a scenario where the Rams pick up the win. Now, there is the possibility of Aaron Donald just bowling his way through the Seattle Seahawks defense or offensive line, but I just don't. But the Rams defense as a whole is just super young, and Aaron Donald just cannot do it all himself. And if I recall correctly, most of the Rams defense practically left. So, yeah, I just don't see the Rams winning, if you ask me. So, all in all, that's going to be it for the Rams. I know it's a short little synopsis of the Rams, and it's a short little preview of the Rams, but I just don't see a scenario where the Rams come out on top. Now let's jump over to the Chargers. For the Chargers, they will be at home in SoFi Stadium against the Miami Dolphins. Now, this is kind of an interesting scenario. Here's my thing for the Dolphins. They are actually... for me, I think the Dolphins are kind of a little vulnerable, if you ask me. I did not think this was going to happen, but the Dolphins have a few key pieces out. They obviously have Jalen Ramsey out, and they might be without Teran Armstead, one of their top offensive linemen. And before I continue, I actually have to give out this little nugget, and I tweeted this out on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show Twitter account. I said, Rich Eisen on NFL Kickoff Eve said that SoFi Stadium was the home of the Los Angeles Rams. Yes, he actually said that. Rich Eisen said that's the home of the Rams and not of the Chargers. So, oof. Shots fired there. Unless he snuck that in and my air conditioner was just blowing way too loudly. But I don't think that was the case. All I heard was SoFi Stadium is home of the Rams. So, poor Chargers, dude. But I digress. And that Cooper Kupp news was actually broken on Wednesday, not Tuesday. So, anyway, but back to Dolphins-Chargers preview. So, no Jalen Ramsey for the Dolphins, no Teron Armstead possibly for the Dolphins, as he hasn't practiced all week. So, and the Chargers only have two guys at most likely going to be out, as it's going to be Chris Rumph the second and Dayan Henley most likely out, as he hasn't practiced all week. Chris Rumph sat out yesterday, and he was limited on Wednesday. So for the Chargers, they're looking rather healthy, which healthy and the Chargers in the same sentence. What's going on in this world? But for the Chargers, this is kind of looking like a promising sign. And with Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack and most of the Chargers linemen, Tui Pelotu on that defensive line, they will be feasting on that Miami offensive line and whatnot. My only concern is for the Chargers is, can they defend the run unlike years past? And also, will the Chargers' offense be flowing really nicely, unlike years past when they had Joe Lombardi as the offensive coordinator? With Kellen Moore, I'm certain they're going to have a better run game, unlike with Joe Lombardi, where it's just check down, check down, check down. And hopefully, Kellen Moore will allow Justin Herbert to be a little bit more mobile. Now, obviously, being a mobile quarterback has its risks. Sometimes, maybe being a mobile quarterback can basically put you at risk of getting hurt more. But I think Justin Herbert is a wise quarterback who can slightly slide or go out of bounds before getting hit. So I think for Kellen Moore, I think it's going to open up the playbook a whole lot more, and it's going to basically allow Justin Herbert to have more options instead of just checking it down. I think he's going to allow Herbert to throw the deep ball and allow players like Austin Eckler, Joshua Kelly to run the ball more. And I will gladly say this. I'm hoping Joshua Kelly does continue to make me eat my crow, just like last year. I'm also saying this. I'm glad Joshua Kelly, proved me wrong yesterday. I think Joshua Kelly really has improved from last year, and he even said it best. He said he got better last year, and he did not fumble the ball last year, which is great, unlike his previous 2 seasons where he had at least 1 fumble. So I'm hoping Joshua Kelly can be that running back too, in case Austin Eckler goes bye-bye, which I hope that's not the case, but we'll see what happens. So other than Dayan Henley and Chris Rumph II being most likely out for Sunday's game, I think the Chargers are most likely healthy, unless the Chargers have someone popping up on the injury list, most likely. So yeah, we don't really have any. The Chargers don't have anyone on the injury report as of late. We haven't really gotten the injury report as of right now, as of this recording right now. So yeah, all we have is Dayan Henley and Chris Rumph II, both with hamstring injuries. That's so weird. Anyway, so as for my prediction for this, what's a good prediction without it being too over the rails? I gotta keep in mind that Tyreek Hill loves to play the Chargers, and I saw an article that said Tyreek Hill loves to play the Chargers, and it made me sick to my stomach, because it brought back all the bad memories from last year and how he scored 2 touchdowns, even though he was held to only 80 yards, and he had that scoop and score, even though I forget who was the running back who fumbled, but it was a fumble recovery. It was a fumble recovered by Tyreek Hill, and then he just ran for like a 57-yard touchdown, which is the most Chargers thing to happen to them. But for the Chargers, I actually have them winning. What's a good score? When it comes to the Chargers, you gotta expect 1-score games. I say they win 31-24. That's a respectable score. I think the Chargers defense is going to bend but don't break, but I think the Chargers offense is going to explode in terms of scoring the ball. Now, do I think the Dolphins are going to obviously have a big game? Of course. They've got Tyreek Hill, they've got Jalen Waddle. The run game, I think, is pretty good, even though they didn't get the likes of Dalvin Cook, which I find pretty funny. Some Dolphins fans were saying, oh, we're going to get Dalvin Cook. Wrong. You didn't even get Ezekiel Elliott, so you lose. But I think not having Jalen Ramsey and not having Teran Armstead is really going to make a difference for the Dolphins, and that's big right there. Because Teran Armstead is a top 5 offensive lineman. I'm going to say that on the record right now. And Jalen Ramsey can definitely be a top 10 corner. But it all depends on what the whole scenario is and who Ramsey is who he's guarding in terms of one-on-one coverage. And then I also wonder if Eli Apple is going to play. If the Dolphins play Eli Apple, they are for sure going to lose. So if that happens, then I will laugh uproariously. Sadly, I will not be watching the Chargers or the Rams game because I have work until 3:30, and I'm hoping this is not going to be a run of the mill, just because my work says they really need me on Sundays, but I really wanted Sundays off, but oh well. I also have another job on Sundays, but that's kind of early in the morning, but I digress. Anyway, so we'll see what happens, but I'm probably going to watch the Chargers game late, which sucks, but what can you do? All right, but that is basically it for the NFL portion of this show. And that's basically it for Chargers-Rams, unless we get one final injury report for the Chargers. Just because, we still haven't gotten the final injury report for the Chargers and the Chargers and the Dolphins. All I could tell you is that for the Rams, we obviously know that Cooper Kupp is basically out, and that's huge right there. I don't think we've gotten any other big names that are out, and if it does, then so we'll see. But that's that for the NFL. Jumping over to college football. All right, so college football was kind of an interesting anomaly. So first and foremost, congratulations to every FBS team that wound up winning last week, as San Diego State, USC, and UCLA wound up winning last week, which was absolutely amazing. Though I had no doubt that any of those teams were going to win. I was fairly certain that all those teams were going to win. So let's start off down the line. We'll start off with SC. All right, this was no surprise. SC beating Nevada was no surprise. And the interesting fact was they actually got to cover. They actually covered. They were 50-point favorites. Oh no, they were 37.5-point favorites, and they just smashed that point favorites. They won 66-14. So that's this one was over by halftime. USC was up 35-7 at halftime, and they even poured 24 points in the fourth quarter. So good for them, as even SC's run game was great, and I want to say even SC got Miller Moss even got to play. He even threw for 134 yards, and he threw for a touchdown. That's just amazing right there for SC. So Miller Moss, it was a great day when Miller Moss got to play and he got to throw a touchdown. So this was kind of expected, if you ask me. So USC managed to win, and now they are 2-0 as they start off Pac-12 conference play for the last time in USC football history, as they will be back at home again when they host Stanford. So USC is surprisingly 29.5-point favorites over the Cardinal. So this one will be a 7:30 start time, which this is Pacific time, so Pac-12 after dark action. So for this matchup, I don't know how to predict this matchup. I feel Stanford's going to make this closer than expected, but I really want to say Stanford's going to make this close, as they have a sophomore quarterback, but Caleb Williams is just going... I feel Caleb Williams and SC is just going to blow him out the water. What's the score that's going to be respectable to Stanford, but is going to basically just blow him out? I say Stanford is going to beat... Or not Stanford's going to beat SC. I say SC is going to beat Stanford... think, Teran, what's a good score? 29.5-point favorites. Let's say 55-20. Or actually, 55-20, and then SC misses the extra point because they have the luck of the Los Angeles Chargers. So let's do that. Or maybe USC just kicks 2 field goals because why not? So 55-20 is my predicted score right there for USC right there. So there we go. That's how USC beats Stanford, and that's how they move to 3-0. And they kick off Pac-12 play 1-0. And this is the final frontier of USC basically starting off Pac-12 play for the final time before they move on to the Big Ten. And yes, it's going to feel weird seeing USC in the the Big Ten. It's going to feel weird seeing USC back in the Big Ten, but hey, what can you do? So that's my prediction for SC versus Stanford. Let's move on to UCLA. So unfortunately, UCLA, unlike USC, they did not cover, as UCLA, sadly, despite being 15.5-point favorites, and despite them winning, they did not cover as they beat Coastal Carolina 27-13 on national TV. Now, here's the interesting thing. This was quite the eventful game, as UCLA actually started Ethan Garbers, who I actually got to see back in high school. Unfortunately for UCLA and all their fans, Ethan Garbers, I don't want to say this in a negative way, but Ethan Garbers sadly didn't really live up to the expectations that I kind of was hoping for. As sadly, he kind of got yanked for Dante Moore, who was the true freshman quarterback. Now, let's just say Dante Moore was actually more, see what I did there, promising than Ethan Garbers, as Garbers he was 10 for 17, 121 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions for a QB rating of 19.3. Poor guy. I feel bad for him. Now, Dante Moore, on the other hand, he was 7 for 12 for 143 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception for a QB rating of 81. Now, I basically was kind of saying that maybe, hence the word maybe, UCLA should have gone with Dante Moore from the get-go, just because Dante Moore was kind of promising, but I was saying don't be surprised if they go to Dante Moore, because I feel, hence the word feel, Dante Moore has so much more upside. And it looks like UCLA went with the aerial game more, as they didn't really throw this was not really the most flashiest game, as their leading receiver was J. Michael Sturdivant, who's only a sophomore, which is cool. But all in all, for UCLA, their defense did come up big, as Coastal Carolina's quarterback Grayson McCall threw 2 picks. And despite him throwing for 271 yards, it just wasn't enough, as UCLA held Coastal Carolina to only 10 rushing yards. 10. They were held to only 56 rushing yards, which is still pretty good if you ask me. That's still pretty good rushing defense, or run defense. Take note, Chargers. Anyway, but Coastal Carolina being held to only 56 rushing yards, that's still pretty good, which I imagine Coastal Carolina was playing from behind most of the game, so they had to throw the ball a lot. So good win for UCLA, as UCLA's next opponent is none other than San Diego State, which we'll get into that preview a little bit later, as we have to recap, which is a good segue to go into said San Diego State versus Idaho State matchup. Now, looking at this matchup, you're thinking this is going to be a complete mismatch, as San Diego State is probably going to blow Idaho State out of the water. And San Diego State did win, but they didn't win by a whole lot. And heck, there was no bet line, as... Actually, no, there was a bet line. San Diego State was a 34.5-point favorite over Idaho State. But the number one rule when it comes to San Diego State, never expect them to blow out an opponent, because they never, ever, 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 ever will. San Diego State wound up winning 36-28. Well, so much for San Diego State's defense being pretty elite, because this defense was anything but elite, as, well, the offense was kind of the thing that was really looking good early on. And heck, the offense wasn't even the greatest thing out there. They actually were running the ball more. And Jalen Maiden, poor guy, he didn't even have a passing touchdown. He finished with 13 for 19 and only 85 passing yards. He did have 132 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns, which I don't know what Brady Hoke was thinking, or whoever the offensive coordinator was, but I guess. And then Martin Blake had a rushing touchdown as well. But this was just really the whole, field goal game, if you ask me, courtesy of Jack Browning. But this was a whole lot. I mean, the final score doesn't really dictate it, as San Diego State basically controlled the outcome. They were up by as many as 16. However, Idaho State made this a whole lot closer than it needed to be. Like, San Diego State never blows out their opponents. which is kind of concerning, and that's what made San Diego State Twitter go crazy. They always say San Diego State never blows out their opponents, which is something I always say on this show. San Diego State football never blows out an opponent. It's always ugly football from San Diego State football. But in this case, San Diego State football wound up winning, and that's how they're 2-0. But against an Idaho State, which if you all remember, that's an FCS school, and San Diego State's an FBS school, you would expect San Diego State to win by a whole lot more than just 8. So I don't know what you're doing, San Diego State, but you kind of got to, fix this. And why is Jalen Maiden putting himself at risk to possibly get himself hurt? He is not Lamar Jackson, unless he really wants to be Lamar Jackson or Justin Fields or whatnot. I swear, San Diego State, if you find some way to destroy Jalen Maiden, I will not forgive you any sort of way. And that goes for you, Brady. And I'm looking at you, Brady Hoke. I'm watching you. We will ship you back to Michigan if need be. We will bring back Rocky Long. I don't care what it takes. We're coming for you, Syracuse. I'm looking at you. Anyway, so San Diego State's next opponent is none other than UCLA, as the Aztecs will host the Bruins in Snapdragon Stadium. Alright, so this is kind of the SoCal wet dream. I probably shouldn't say that word, wet dream, but I digress. I feel that's not really the appropriate term to use, but whatever. It's there. Alright, so San Diego State versus UCLA. I'm guessing UCLA, Chip Kelly said he hasn't really named a quarterback, but first and foremost, he hasn't really named a quarterback, but I really have to give a shout out to James H. Williams. First and foremost, he covers UCLA. Second of all, if you haven't followed him, please do follow him. He actually is a reporter, and he's the assistant sports editor for the Orange County Register. He actually... There was something funny that got tweeted out, which was something extremely funny, and it was tweeted out to the, which was extremely funny. So Chip Kelly said that he hasn't named a starter yet. And he hasn't said that he hasn't named a starter yet, which is pretty funny. But I'm trying to find the tweet that said that James H. Williams said that basically said something funny. But James H. Williams has not, or I'm sorry, not James H. Williams. Chip Kelly said that he has not named a starter yet. But I imagine, and I put a lot of money on this, he's going to start Dante Moore. If I'm Chip Kelly, I start Dante Moore, and the dude looked legit. Now, obviously, he's facing a San Diego State defense, which is pretty darn good. However, you have to remember that this San Diego State defense kind of got carved up by Idaho State. So, and most people are saying that San Diego State... Or most people are saying that Dante Moore should start. And according to James H. Williams, he said UCLA coach Chip Kelly will wait until later in the week to decide how playing time will be distributed among quarterbacks. There's no indication who will start as of now. So, unfortunately, we don't know who's going to be starting and whatnot. So, unfortunately, y'all are going to basically say y'all are going to have to continue to guess on who's going to start. So, okay, here's the tweet. So, apparently someone quote tweeted James H. Williams' tweet. He said, and this is from Jotham Kitara. And this guy gets the Big W award. He gets my first Big W award. He says, and he quote tweets James H. Williams' tweet about Chip Kelly. He says, "This is me when my kids ask me to do anything that costs money or is generally an inconvenience. We all know the answer, but I gotta lie anyways and say, I'll think about it. for appearances. So that is probably the best answer anybody could give out. So first and foremost, Jotham the First, or at Jotham Qatar, you get the Big W award for that quote tweet right there. I was kind of chuckling right there. It's like, oh my god, that is so totally relatable. Chip Kelly obviously wants to start Dante Moore, but he obviously doesn't want to say something to like stir Ethan Garbers or all the other quarterbacks up or cause a scene in the UCLA air. So, but I honestly imagine that Chip Kelly will start Dante Moore. So if you ask me, if UCLA wants to have any shot of beating San Diego State, they got to start Dante Moore. I think Dante Moore will have a great field day against San Diego State. And let's be honest, San Diego State's defense is good, but when they play actual teams like UCLA or Oregon State or Utah or Arizona or Boise State, or you get the point, like San Jose State, San Diego State's defense is practically non-existent. Against Idaho State, they got carved up. They gave up 28 points. What kind of elite defense gives up 28 points to an FCS team? No offense to Idaho State. Like, that team deserves all the credit in the world for basically not throwing in the towel. But for San Diego State, who I've praised and who I've defended for all these years, how do you give up 28 points to that team? Horrible. And also, you got to remember that San Diego State's offense is such an anomaly. It's so confusing. One week, they're either airing it out and barely running it, or they're running it and putting their quarterback at risk and trying to turn him into Lamar Jackson and Justin Fields. It just doesn't make any sense. So I just don't know what to expect with San Diego State. Now, for UCLA, I'm 100% certain they're going to go with Dante Moore. And I know UCLA lost a lot of guys like Zach Charbonnet and Jake Bobo and all those other guys, but I'm fairly certain UCLA is going to have all of the cards on the table. And I don't really know what to predict when it comes to this little matchup right here. I really think that this is going to be a whole lot closer than it needs to be. UCLA is a 14-point favorite, but they couldn't even cover last week against Coastal Carolina. I feel they will cover, but I don't know. I'm going to pick UCLA in this one. I think UCLA is the obvious choice, but I think UCLA wins. Let's go 24-14. I think that's a good score. I think it's going to be ugly football between those gutty little Bruins and those anonymous Aztecs. I think that's a good nickname for them, the Anonymous Aztecs. And I'm picking UCLA to win because I don't trust San Diego State. Their first two opponents were wins over Ohio and Idaho. And I know UCLA only has one win under their belt, but it's a pretty solid win. I mean, Coastal Carolina isn't bad by all means, but I mean, it's better than playing the likes of Idaho and Ohio. I mean, you flip the two teams' opponents, and I think UCLA goes 2-0, and heck, I don't think San Diego State goes 1-0. I'm just saying. So I think UCLA beats San Diego State 24-14. Nothing against San Diego State. I just am more confident in the Bruins just because I think with Dante Moore getting those extra reps and him coming in for Ethan Garbers, I think UCLA is going to have it going on. Now, if Dante Moore were getting to start cold turkey with 0 reps and just practicing all week and whatnot, I think maybe I'd be saying 17-14 in favor of UCLA. Or maybe I'd be favoring San Diego State. But I really have to go with UCLA to win this one just because San Diego State fares poorly against the Pac-12 teams. And there's probably a reason why San Diego State is not in the Pac-12. But hey, if San Diego State does win, I think we really do got to put San Diego State in the Pac-12. Just for the future. I'm just saying. Or we got to migrate the entire Mountain West to the Pac-12 and combine it. Just because now Stanford and Cal are moving to the ACC. Thanks Pac-12. Way to mess up. And thank you, SC and UCLA. Way to cause a gigantic trend and whatnot. Anyway. Alright, but that's going to do it for the FBS portion of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Jumping over to the FCS. Alright, I got some crow to eat, and I'm not too proud of myself. Alright, so remember how I predicted San Diego was going to beat Cal Poly? I feel so ashamed as, man, Cal Poly proved me wrong. Cal Poly decided to say, no, Teran, your prediction is going to be incorrect. We are going to shut your prediction up and beat San Diego, as Cal Poly beat the Toreros 27-10. And oh my goodness, Sam Heward threw for 326 yards and 1 touchdown. Now, he did have an interception, but man, oh man, this dude was legit. And I do got to give a huge shout out to Troy Fletcher. And I got to give the Big W award out to this guy, because I actually did cover Troy Fletcher back in my journalism days, as I covered him back in his high school days, and he actually did have a rushing touchdown, and he's only a freshman, so Troy Fletcher is straight up killing it with Edison, or with Cal Poly, as he is an Edison alum, as he played his days back at Edison High School, which is awesome sauce. So, great job to Troy Fletcher. And San Diego's only touchdown was actually a pick six. So, remember that interception that Sam Heward threw? Ruben Lopez actually had a 48-yard pick six. So, technically, the Cal Poly defense held the Toreros to without an offensive touchdown. Only a field goal and a pick six. So, good job to Cal Poly's defense for holding up strong. Unfortunately for the Toreros, they fell, which sucks, but time will go on for them, as San Diego will play Colorado Mesa. Isn't that like Division 3, if I'm not mistaken? Anyway, so San Diego should be able to win that one. I'd feel horrible if I made a prediction when it came to that, but I got the Toreros winning 42-10, I guess. I'm not really the best when it comes to making predictions like that. And then Cal Poly plays San Jose State. Okay, this is going to be a tough one for Cal Poly, because San Jose State, they've played the likes of SC and Oregon State. If Cal Poly manages to pull out this win, I think Cal Poly should be joining the Pac-12 in all sports, not just football. We got to bring Cal Poly up to the FBS. We got to bring them into the Pac-12, and then all their other sports can join the Pac-12 as well. I'm looking at you, Big West Conference. But you know what? Let's be bold here. I'm picking Cal Poly to beat San Jose State 24-21. I'm going bold with the upset. Give me Cal Poly over them San Jose State Spartans. I'm going bold, and if I'm wrong, but give me those Cal Poly Mustangs over the San Jose State Spartans. I'm sorry to Cooper Hoke and the entire San Jose State football team, but I want to go bold here. I know it's a stupid prediction, but I want to go bold here. I know I'm going to be wrong, but why not be a little bit bold, unique, and funny? So, give me those Cal Poly Mustangs. Alright, but that's going to do it for the college football portion of the show. Let's jump on over to some MLS action. So, ever since LAFC lost to Charlotte FC, which was not fun times for LAFC, they have not played they did play against Inter Miami, and let's just say that one was not fun. Everybody and their moms was in attendance for this match. All the stars were in attendance for this matchup against Inter Miami. And unfortunately for LAFC, despite them being the talented team that they are, they just could not solve the problem that is Inter Miami, as they wound up losing 3-1 at the BMO Stadium. Surprisingly enough, Lionel Messi did not score a goal. However, everyone else practically did, as I'm going to probably butcher this guy's name. Facundo Farias scored in the 14th minute for Inter Miami, as that gave him a 1-0 lead going into halftime. And then in the 51st minute, Jordi Alba scored to give Miami a 2-0 lead. Then Leonardo Capana scored in the 83rd minute to give Miami a 3-0 lead. And then LAFC was fortunate to not get shut out, as Ryan Hollingshed scored in the 90th minute to basically give LAFC its lone goal. Sadly, it wasn't enough. It was nowhere near enough, as the goals just sadly were not calling out to LAFC, as that's how LAFC lost. What's even worse for LAFC is Seattle, Seattle tied with their interstate rival Portland 2-2 last Saturday, as now LAFC is behind Seattle for the number 2 spot in the Western Conference. And you know who else is creeping on a come up when it comes to the Western Conference? Real Salt Lake, as LAFC is lucky they have played one less match than Real Salt Lake. Otherwise, we could be looking at Real Salt Lake possibly, hence the word possibly, surpassing LAFC. But though LAFC is probably has the tiebreaker, because look at that goal difference. -1. Woo! Anyway, so LAFC is back in action this Saturday, as LAFC hits the road to the Emerald City to take on Portland. So the Portland Timbers, what do we think of the Portland Timbers? They are 12th in the Western Conference. Now, Inter Miami is one thing. They obviously have the golden child in Lionel Messi. I'm fairly certain LAFC should be able to handle the Portland Timbers. I mean, they did just tie the Seattle Sounders, but for the LAFC's sake, they have to get the 3 points. They cannot afford to fall further behind, and they have to get out of this funk. It was one thing to lose to Charlotte. It was another thing to lose to Miami. A third loss cannot be ill-advised or ill-wanted if you're LAFC. So I hope for LAFC's sake they got the bad losses out of the way. I know losing to Inter Miami was tough, but what can you do? And then for the LA Galaxy, they played the Houston Dynamo on Saturday, and they wound up posting a scoreless draw to the Dynamo at Dignity Health Sports Park. I almost said the StubHub Center, but it's Dignity Health Sports Park. So the Galaxy are no longer in last place. They are in 13th place, but they're still a long ways out of a playoff spot, as I've been getting word that it's actually top 8 teams advance to the playoffs, though there are 29 teams in the MLB, or not MLB, the MLS. So this is kind of weird if you ask me. I'm not sure if there are 8 teams in the that are going to the MLS playoffs or whatnot. But either way, if there are 8 teams going to the MLS playoffs, cool. But if not, then so be it. If there are 8 teams, then the Galaxy are only 7 points out of the playoffs, out of a final playoff spot. Regardless, they're still 8 points out of the final playoff spot. Anyway, so the Galaxy's next game is going to be a home game against St. Louis SC. St. Louis SC, which St. Louis City SC, which actually wound up losing to Kansas City, which Sporting KC. Yeah, I forgot that's their actual name. That's the correct vernacular. Ooh, wow. Sporting KC, they lost to them? Jiminy Christmas. I thought St. Louis was supposed to be one of the better teams. Anyway, so the Galaxy have nothing really to lose at this point. And if you remember the last time, St. Louis City SC actually wound up tying the Galaxy in St. Louis 1-1, which I thought was rather funny / interesting, if you ask me. So, if you want my opinion, the Galaxy have nothing to lose, and that's kind of a dangerous thing if you're St. Louis. So, if you want my overall opinion, I think the Galaxy could win this, and if they look at it in the way of they might actually have a shot, but don't hold your breath on the Galaxy winning. If they do win, awesome. Then this season might not be a wash after all, and they may actually have a shot at the playoffs. Because they are only 7 points out of a playoff spot, and I would be rather perplexed if the Galaxy managed to make the playoffs at this point of the season. So we'll see what happens going forward with the Galaxy. But for the time being, they're still kind of on the outside looking in, as they have 9 matches remaining and they still need to do a lot of winning. But we'll see. But that's going to do it for the MLS portion of the show. We're going to take ourselves a quick little commercial break. When we come back, let's discuss the NWSL, then let's discuss the WNBA, and then the MLB, and then the Lakers, and then the Sparks, and then the big W. Let's give out more big W awards, and then the Dum Dum of the Week. So keep it locked here. You are listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
What's up, sports fans? You're listening to IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your favorite West Coast Wisconsinite, Bernie Bango, and if you're a cheesehead, come listen to my show, Big Cheese Sports, where we road trip around America's Dairyland, previewing, reviewing, predicting, debating, and digging into all that is Wisconsin sports at the college and pro levels. Join me on IE Sports Radio, Sundays at 1 p.m. Central Standard. Bernie out.
Well, what is up, Carolina Nation? This is John Felipe of the Carolina Cast, of course, the podcast of, by, and for the Carolinas, right here on IE Sports, your direct feed for all that is sports. And I'm reminding you to tune in Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern for the latest in Carolina sports, whether it's the Panthers that keep on pounding, the fly natures of the Hornets, the storming Hurricanes, the battle of the Blues with Duke and UNC, the fight of the Clemson Tigers, or the amazing atmosphere of any Carolina college. I'm talking App State, I'm talking ECU, I've got you covered. Once again, tune in for the Carolina Cast with me, John Felipe, Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right. Welcome to AZ Sports Daily. I'm your host, Kiernan Daly, bringing the heat to Arizona sports. There's no discrimination here. We're going to talk about every sports team, professional and college. The show is all about you, the listener. I'm here to entertain you. Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here? It's going to be fun, high energy. You may not agree with what I say. That's okay. Let me hear you. Let's talk about it. Join me every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on AZ Sports Daily. That's AZ Sports, Daily, and at IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What up, Boston sports fans? This is Mikey Two Guns here, your host of Our Bleepin' City, airing every Wednesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Please join me. We'll talk everything Boston sports, all the local teams, college teams. I'm even down to talk MMA, boxing, whatever you guys want. So join me every Wednesday night, 7 to 8 p.m. Chime in with your questions on the chat, tweet the show. We'll even have call-ins. I can't wait to hear from you guys. This is going to be a lot of fun. So once again, it's Our Bleepin' City. I am your host, Mikey Two Guns, every Wednesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. See you soon, people.
Back with segment number 2 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Definitely do check out all of our amazing shows, especially the Carolina cast, which will most likely be going on later today. Hold on a sec. Excuse me, had to sneeze for a bit. Sorry, that fall fever starting to pop on in. Anyway, back with segment number 2. And without any further delay, let us get on into that second half as talk some NWSL action as, well, Angel City just continues to win as this past weekend they defeated the Kansas City Current, which obviously isn't really the greatest of, or the biggest of wins, but hey, it's still a win, and they still kept that non-losing streak alive as, hey, they're still in hot pursuit of getting that playoff spot, as Larry B is still here. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you. As Angel City, they have not lost since June 10th, which is rather surprising. So if serve holds up, well, they don't even have a match till September 17th. So it'll have been 3 months since they last lost a match, which was the firing of their previous head coach. So, wow. Angel City must have found something in Free Akum that we all didn't. So, mind equals blown. And the more crazy part is that Angel City is only 2 points out of a playoff spot. And their goal differential is now -3, which is just mind-blowing. And they're 2 points behind the Washington Spirit, which is just crazy. And they just lost to the Chicago Red Stars. So, man, a lot happens when you actually fire a coach. Because Angel City was actually one of the worst teams in the league, and now they're suddenly becoming one of the more improved teams. Is Angel City really the team of destiny? Anyway, so Angel City, having beaten Kansas City on the road, means that they are closing in on that 6th seed. And speaking of Chicago, now that I just mentioned them, that is actually Angel City's next match. But like I said, it's not going to be until Sunday, September 17th. So it's not going to be this Sunday, but it's going to be the following Sunday. So I have no idea why Angel City gets a bye, but that's how the NWSL schedule works, I guess. So Angel City will get a nice little week off just to recover, recuperate, and prepare for the Chicago Red Stars, which Chicago is the second worst team in the NWSL, which honestly, that's good for Angel City. If they can beat the Currents, albeit they only beat them 1-0, they should be able to handle the Red Stars, as the lone goal coming from Angel City was Jasmine Spencer in the 66th minute, as don't be alarmed if you're about to hear this, but Angel City's record is 6-6-6. They have 6 wins, 6 ties, and 6 losses. Maybe I shouldn't have said anything. But that's rather interesting if you ask me. Might want to do something about that Angel City. Anyway, so for Angel City, they it's been rather good times for them. They've won 2 in a row, and like I said, they haven't lost a match, if we're including the NWSL Challenge Cup, all the way back since June 10th. So this is really good, if you ask me. So good job to Angel City. Their improvement is just something special, and I really got to give them a tip of the cap. But they still have a ways to go, as looking at their schedule, they only have a whopping 4 matches to go until the end of the NWSL regular season. And here's hoping that this isn't the whole too little too late scenario, as they have Chicago, and then they have Orlando to close out September, which Orlando is also in hot pursuit of a playoff spot, as Orlando is right on the coattails of Angel City. And then they have in October the Houston Dash, and then they've got the Portland Thorns to close out the regular season, which Portland is also going to be a tough matchup. Portland's going to be the toughest matchup and the biggest test for them. Houston is still in contention, but looking at Angel City's schedule, that's a fairly favorable schedule right there. Chicago, Orlando, and Houston, those teams are right below Angel City. But does that mean Angel City can just cruise on in and think, oh, we're going to cruise on in and just defeat these teams with no problem? No. That does not mean that they're going to breeze by them. They actually have to go out there and win. So Angel City just can't afford to, roll over and think that they're going to be world beaters. Speaking of world beaters, and speaking of Houston, San Diego Wave FC managed to win at home, which, if you ask me, is one of the more surprising things. When you see the words San Diego Wave FC and the word win and at home, it's probably the apocalypse happening. No, it's not. But San Diego Wave FC did manage to beat the Houston Dash at home 1-0, which was another big win, as Jaden Shaw scored in the 57th minute, as Michelle Alozi of the Houston Dash actually picked up a red card in the 33rd minute. So playing with a player down did not help the Houston Dash, and Jaden Shaw capitalizing on that didn't help the Dash either. But Wave FC will take it, as the win really helped Wave FC, as they're now all alone in first place with 4 matches to go, as every team has played 18 matches, and it looks like every team is boiling down to the last 4 matches of their season, which is good, because now it's going to start to get down to the wire here, as Wave FC is 1 point ahead of the Portland Thorns, and they also have a better record than them, which I think is really good. Now, the next matchup for Wave FC is not going to be until Saturday, September 16th, when they host the Kansas City Current. Now, just like before, when I was talking about how Angel City and them playing teams that are below them, Wave FC just can't underestimate the Current, and they just can't underestimate anybody that they face. Especially since that match could actually be a trap game, because the following match, they play the Portland Thorns, which could be the deciding factor of who gets to be the number 1 seed and who gets to not be the number 1 seed. Because like I said, Portland is right behind Wave FC. They're only 1 point behind them. So for Wave FC, they just have to get the job done at Snapdragon Stadium against the Kansas City Current. And Kansas City's got nothing left to lose at this point. And they could be playing spoiler. It's kind of like how the Chiefs played spoiler to the Chargers back in, I think it was either 2014 or 2015, where all the Chargers just needed to do was win, and they were in the playoffs. But instead, they wound up losing, and then they wound up pooping the bed and missing the playoffs, because, well, that's just how the Chargers are. So for back to Wave FC, they just have to take care of business, and then they'll be closer and closer to the playoffs. Just because first place all the way down to 6th place is only separated by 4 points. So Wave FC is nowhere near a lock in the playoffs, if you want my opinion. So we'll see what happens when it comes to Wave FC. I think they are doing great, and they've really improved as they've won 3 in a row ever since drawing, which is good, as they have not lost a match ever since drawing with Angel City back on August 5th. So they have not lost a match ever since July 28th. So they haven't lost a match in over a month and a half, which is good. But now they're kind of on the voyage of no return, as they just can't afford to fall in this pit trap of a trap game against Kansas City, just because their next match after that is Portland. And then their last two matches are against the North Carolina Courage, which is still in contention for that 1 seed. They're only 2 games back of San Diego. And then they've got Louisville to close out the season at home, which Louisville is fighting for a playoff spot. So that's still a thing right there. So we'll see what happens with San Diego and whatnot. But I'm really liking San Diego's chances. They just have to play their cards right, and hopefully they don't peak too early. I mean, last year they won a playoff game, and then unfortunately they fell in the semifinals. And the thing about San Diego is that they're hosting the NWSL championships. Imagine if they get to the championships, they would have a home championship game. That would be so epic. But they have to get to the championship match first. They just can't afford to just look ahead, because that would just not be a good thing. But we'll see. All right, but that's going to do it for the NWSL portion of the show. Let's jump on over to the NBA, just because there was something that did happen previously or earlier this week, as the Lakers did something that was rather interesting, if you ask me. They actually signed Christian Wood, which they signed him to a 2-year deal from the Dallas Mavericks. So, for those that are wondering who Christian Wood is, he's actually a 6'9" center/power forward. He averaged 16.6 points per game, 7.3 boards per game, and he shot a little above 51, and he shot 51.5% from the field, which is pretty good if you ask me. So I like this signing. I think the Lakers are really doing well, and the updated roster, according to Lakers Lead, point guards are D'Angelo Russell, Gabe Vincent, and Jalen Hood-Schifino. Shooting guards, Austin Reeves and Max Christie. Small forwards, LeBron James, Cam Reddish, Taurean Prince, and Maxwell Lewis, though I think LeBron could play shooting guard. Power forwards, Rui Hachimura and Jared Vanderbilt. And then the centers are Anthony Davis, Christian Wood, and Jackson Hayes. And then Lakers Lead also puts Rob Pelinka is running circles around the rest of the GMs. A+ offseason for the 2024 champs. Oh my goodness. Okay. First of all, let's pump the brakes at Lakers Lead. The Lakers actually have to win the games first, and they actually have to win the championship first to be named 2024 champs. Second of all, it's great that they have this lineup, but most of their team is fairly young, though they do have an aging LeBron who's going to be in his 21st season. And third, can Anthony Davis put on his big boy pants and come up big? We'll see. But all in all, I'm liking this lineup too. I think the Lakers are getting the job done. And this Christian Wood signing is pretty good as well. Just because, do we really trust Jackson Hayes to fill the void for Anthony Davis in case he gets hurt? No. So I really like that signing as well. And then Rui Hachimura still starting at power forward. I love it as well. And then Christian Wood can still also play power forward too. So I'm loving this for the Lakers. So good signing for the Lakers, and I really hope the Lakers can continue to do this. And I would have liked for the Lakers to have Drew Timme on their team, but what can you do? All right, but that's enough about the Lakers in that little like shortened synopsis right there. Just because we haven't really gotten too much news about the Lakers. I do know that they have their little. Their little whatchamacallit, their schedule was released, but I don't need to go too in deep in regards to that. And the Clippers, obviously, they haven't really had too many splashes in regards to their news, so let's jump on over to the WNBA, as the Sparks are basically on life support in terms of making the playoffs. They are basically trying to tread water in terms of make the playoffs, as last Sunday they beat the Washington Mystics as they wound up winning 72-64, which was good. But on Tuesday, they wound up losing to the Connecticut Sun 90-76, which is bad. And then yesterday, they lost to the New York Liberty 96-89, which is also bad. So the Sparks have one more game left. They host the Seattle Storm, which is kind of the team that's put them in this situation. But the Sparks are kind of not my biggest concern. My biggest concern is the Chicago Sky. If the Chicago Sky win tonight, the Sparks are done. They're done. The season is over. The Sparks are basically out of the playoffs. The Sky host the Minnesota Lynx, which, man, that is something I don't want to see. And the thing is for the Chicago Sky is that Kalia Copper had a 25-point game. However, it was against the Indiana Fever, and the Indiana Fever stink. I mean, the Indiana Fever were basically the worst team in the Eastern Conference, and they were one of the worst teams in the league. Third worst team in the league. So, anyway, for the Sky, they have the Lynx and the Sun. But none of that is really going to matter if the Sky actually beat the Minnesota Lynx tonight. So every Sparks fan is rooting for the Lynx tonight. As much as the Lynx has beaten the Sparks, I think they beat the Sparks every time this season. As much as the Lynx have beaten the Sparks every time this season, we need the Lynx to beat the Sky tonight. And then, if, let's say the Lynx do beat the Sky tonight, knock on wood, then we need the Connecticut Sun to beat the Chicago Sky on Sunday, and then the Sparks need to beat the Seattle Storm on Sunday. And the Sparks have to win on Sunday. And it's the whole scenario of Sparks win and then they're in, and then the Sky have to lose out. Because if the Sparks don't win, then nothing really matters, because the Sky have the tiebreakers over the Sparks, which really sucks. I mean, the Sparks wouldn't even be in this situation had they just beaten the Storm regardless in that previous meeting. But no, the Sparks just had to lose. Gosh darn Sparks, and they're playing down their competition. I mean, now that they're in this situation, so gosh darn Sparks, making me mad, I tell you. And they were doing so great after that 5-game winning streak and beating the Las Vegas Aces. Anyway, so yeah, Sparks are basically in their final stand of trying to make the playoffs, and it's this Sunday where they have to beat the Storm and hope that the Sky lose out, because if they don't, then their playoff they'll be on the couch watching the playoffs. And I feel the Sparks are too talented. And yes, even though the Sparks would be playing the Las Vegas Aces, I still would like to see the Sparks in the playoffs, just because they have a boatload of talent. Are they as talented as the Aces? Absolutely not. But I would at least like to see some sort of postseason WNBA basketball. Otherwise, the Sparks have got to clean house some more. Alright, but that's going to do it for the Sparks. There's nothing really more to add, as it's only the Sparks play the Storm, and then the Sky basically have to lose out. That's basically the scenario of how the Sparks get into the playoffs. Because if the Sky win tonight, there's nothing really more to add. The Sparks are done. And then if the Sparks lose on Sunday, then they're done as well. So basically, the Sparks need all the help that they can get. All because they just could not take care of business the first time they played the Storm. Anyway, so now let's jump on into some MLB action. Alright, so the Angels just continue to be a walking funeral home, as you all thought that Well, you all thought that this season couldn't get any worse. Well, I'll just say it really got worse. It really got worse. So this past weekend, the Angels hit the road to Northern California to take on the Oakland Athletics. Well, soon to be probably Las Vegas Athletics. And unfortunately, the Angels got swept by the Athletics. I don't know what to say. I think we got to end the show right here. Yeah, the Angels got swept by the Athletics. Friday they lost 9-2. Saturday they lost 2-1, and then Sunday they lost 10-6. To quote Urinating Tree on Twitter, how do you get swept by the Oakland A's? The Angels season in a nutshell. Now this past regular season sweeping, or this series sweeping, is a little bit more understanding, as the Angels return to the Big A, Angel Stadium, to get swept by the Baltimore Orioles, as the Angels lost 6-3 on Monday, 5-4 in 10 innings on Tuesday, and 10-3 on Wednesday. Yesterday, the Angels kicked off a 4-game series against the Cleveland Guardians, where the Angels surprisingly wound up winning 3-2. Unsurprisingly, the Angels are now 11 games under 500, and it's funny because Angels were all in. They had unfinished business. They were hovering around 500. They were beating unworthy teams. They swept the Yankees without Aaron Judge and all their superstar players. They had a meltdown against supreme teams like the Mariners, the Blue Jays, the Astros, the Braves, and now look at them. So the Angels continue their 4-game series against the Cleveland Guardians on Friday or tonight at 6:38, tomorrow at 6:07, and then Sunday at 1:07. My only hope is for the Angels is that they play spoiler to the Seattle Mariners' playoff hopes, as it's looking like the Mariners of all teams, the team that I was hoping was not going to win the AL West or not going to make the playoffs entirely, is going to look like they're going to make the playoffs. Great job, Teran. Way to reverse jinx them. Anyway, all because the Angels gave them 4 free wins. Way to go. Anyway, so for the Angels, after they have their 4-game series against the Guardians, they hit the road to the Emerald State, Seattle, and then they play the Mariners. And then they have Thursday off, but then they welcome the Detroit Tigers back to Angel Stadium next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which I would not be surprised if they wound up winning, just because that probably is the team that the Angels can seem to beat. End the season, please, Angels. This is not fun at all. It really isn't. Now, as for the Dodgers, jumping over to them, they just got news today that one of their top pitchers is actually going to have Tommy John surgery, and this is probably the worst news that they could have gotten today. And that one pitcher is sadly Walker Buehler, as this was announced today that Walker Buehler will not return to the 2023 season as he will be recovering from Tommy John surgery, which really sucks. And it's so saddening and frustrating just because Walker Buehler is one of the bright spots for the Dodgers in terms of pitching, as this was released in a statement earlier today. Today, the Dodgers are announcing that right-handed pitcher Walker Buehler, who is recovering from Tommy John surgery, will not return during the 2023 season, with an eye toward coming back at the start of the 2023 campaign. Buehler said, My goal since last year has been to return to a major league mound this season. After many conversations with my doctor, the Dodgers front office, training staff, and my family, we concluded that waiting until next season is the right course of action. I am disappointed that I will not be able to help this team go after a title in the 2023 postseason, but I will look forward to returning fully healthy in 2024 and bringing another World Series title to LA. Well, that sucks. And later on, I'm about to tell you what else sucks. But I will also say the Dodgers' magic number is 9 in order to clinch the NL West, which is good. So this past weekend, or last weekend, the Dodgers had a 4-game series against the Atlanta Braves, which that was already a tall task as it was. As jumping back to August, so the first game actually happened in August. They actually wound up losing a heartbreaker to the Braves, 8-7, and then the second game, which was in September, the start of September, they lost to the Braves 6-3, and then last Saturday they wound up losing 4-2, and then fortunately for the Dodgers, they wound up salvaging a win, winning 3-1, and then after that 4-game series, which saw the Dodgers lose 3 of 4, they managed to start a 3-game series against the Miami Marlins in Miami, which started on Tuesday and ended yesterday, which actually saw the Dodgers drop 2 of 3 to the Marlins. So the Dodgers lost 6-3 on Tuesday, lost 11-4 on Wednesday, and beat the Marlins 10-0 on Thursday. So as of right now, like I mentioned, the Dodgers' magic number to clinch the NL West is 9, which is good, but it would have been better had they gotten some more wins. And losing 2 straight series is straight up bad. And the Walker Buehler news is not even remotely close to even good. So the Dodgers have a new series. This one should be a little less painful, as the Dodgers will hit the road to the nation's capital to take on the Washington Nationals tonight at 4:05 p.m. Pacific time. Saturday and Sunday, they'll also play the Nationals. And then Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, they'll return to the Chavez Ravine to take on the San Diego Padres. And then next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the Dodgers will hit the road to Seattle to take on the Mariners, which that could be a big series right there. And that could be a nice little tune-up series for both of those teams. And it's kind of a little test right there, and I really want the Dodgers to come out on top in that series, so we'll see. So all in all, it's basically the NL West for the Dodgers to lose. And then as for the Padres, it's been better days for the Padres, unfortunately. Remember how everyone was hyping up the Padres, thinking this is going to be their year, and they're going to win the NL West, and they're going to overtake the Dodgers, and they're going to be world beaters, and Goose, and that's what's in, and Manny's going to cruise, that's what's in. Yeah, good times. Well, unfortunately, hasn't been good times for the Padres. So last Thursday, if I didn't discuss it, the Padres lost to the Giants 7-2, and then last Friday, the Padres beat the Giants 7-3. They also beat the Giants last Saturday 6-1, and they won the entire series, the 4-game series, 4-0. So despite not having a great season, they took 3 of 4 against the Giants, which was very, very nice. And then last Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, the Padres and Phillies squared off at Petco Park, where the Padres wound up dropping 2 out of 3. The Padres lost to the Phillies 9-7, and then they wound up beating the Phillies 8-3, and then they dropped 1 to the Phillies on Wednesday 5-1. So after having yesterday off, the Padres hit the road to H-Town to take on the Houston Astros in H-Town tonight at 5:10 p.m. Pacific time, and then the two will be playing each other on Saturday and Sunday. And then after that, the Padres, like I said, they'll be playing the Dodgers, and then they'll have Thursday off, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the Dodgers will then hit the road to Northern California. They'll head up north to take on the Oakland A's. So, Padres fans, your season is just as ugly as the Angels, as your season is... Yeah, I'm just going to say this right now. Their season is just as bad as the Angels' season. But I'll just say this. The Padres season was pretty much dead in the water. At least the Padres season was pretty much over with. But they kind of showed a little bit of promise as they kind of were clawing their way back. The Angels were as well. But then the Angels went all in, and they kept Shohei Ohtani, whereas they could have gotten a haul for him. And then, unfortunately, they just didn't. And I will just say this about the Padres. They're only 7 games back of the final wildcard spot, which is being occupied by Arizona. And honestly, we would all like to see Arizona still be in the playoffs. Not that we're all talking... Not that this is an Arizona show and whatnot, but still, it's still a thing. But regardless, the Padres season is still going bad. So that is basically it for the... that's basically it for the Padres and whatnot. And I'll just say it right now. Angels and Padres are very depressing. So this fun fact right here, and I did not know this fact about the about Chip Kelly. So this comes from James H. Williams, my man James H. Williams. He said, "Did you know UCLA football is 1-3 against Mountain West teams with Chip Kelly as its coach?" Ouch! Oh my goodness. Well, I did not know that. I know one of the losses was against Fresno State. I don't know who the other one was against. I don't know who they beat, honestly. Was it Hawaii? I'm pretty sure the win was against Hawaii. I know they beat... Yeah, I'm 95% certain they beat Hawaii. They lost to Fresno State. I don't know who else they've lost to, but I'm still confident in taking UCLA over San Diego State. I am not going to get persuaded in switching my pick. I've locked in my pick, and nothing, and I repeat, nothing is going to change my mind. Do not... That little anomaly is not going to change my mind. Anyway, so before we get on into Dum Dum of the Week and any more Big W awards, I actually have to give this Big W award out to the El Segundo Little League team as they wound up winning the Little League Championship, which I can't believe I forgot to give this shout out to them. So they actually, I feel so horrible for actually forgetting to give them a shout out to them like a few weeks earlier to them. They actually wound up winning the Little League World Series on August 27th, so I should have given them a shout out last week, but unfortunately I didn't because I sadly forgot. So they get the Mondo Mega Uber Big W award just because that's a huge deal right there. I don't remember how many teams partook in the Little League World Series and whatnot, or the Little League playoffs and whatnot, but winning the Little League Championship, let alone the regionals, is such a huge deal. So great job to the El Segundo Little League team and basically winning the whole shebang. And you made all of Southern California proud, and that is definitely going to be a moment those kids will never forget. And I remember covering Little League as well, and honestly, Little League is so unique. And I remember covering a Little League game where someone threw a no-hitter. So it's pretty impressive if you ask me. So I'm so happy. I'm so happy for those kids. And you represent SoCal well. All right, but that is that for that little bit of nugget news. Before we head on out of here, it is that time to give out the Dum Dum of the Week. So the Dum Dum of the Week award goes out to someone who did or said something dumb. And no one is safe from this award, as this award can go out to anybody, as this can go out to my neighbor, this can go out to someone that did or said something to me. Like, nobody is safe from this award. And I probably have like more than one award to give this one out to. I probably can give it out to Rich Eisen for saying that the SoFi Stadium is home to the Rams, whereas it's actually home to the Rams and the Chargers. But I actually have the perfect Dum Dum of the Week award to give this out to, as this one is the perfect Dum Dum of the Week award candidate. Well, first and foremost, I actually have to give out the Dum Dum of the Week to the Angels, just because. How do you get swept by the freaking Oakland A's? Shame on you, Angels. You disappoint me. How dare you lose to the Oakland A's? How dare you get swept by the Oakland A's? Just cancel the entire season, except beat the Seattle Mariners. If not, you are getting Dum Dum of the Week the rest of the way. Bad Anaheim Angels. Matter of fact, you don't even deserve to be known as the Anaheim Angels or the Los Angeles Angels. You're dum-dums. You're dumb. You lost to the worst. You got swept by the worst team in the league. You're dumb. Dum-dum of the week. Goodbye.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
All right. I'm sorry, but how do you find a way to get swept by the worst team in the league? I'm sorry, but I just can't. All right. I think I said that I was going to basically give them Dum Dum of the Week if they were to get swept by that team, by them. Anyway, now for the actual Dum Dum of the Week. So, if you all have been living under a rock, I feel horrible for you. But if you all have been basically in the know of this, I have to basically bring up this news. And unfortunately, this is news I don't want to have to bring up. So, sadly, one of the Los Angeles Dodgers players got in trouble. And this player is sadly a player that is a key player for the Dodgers. This player is actually Julio Urias. So, sadly, Julio Urias unfortunately did something really bad, as he actually was arrested on domestic abuse and whatnot. So he was caught on video, and someone basically caught him on video, and they basically called the police, and then basically said, which sucks. I'm not going to get into too much of the details, but it's just terrible that he made this bad decision. You want to know what's the worst part? This isn't his first time that he made this bad decision. And you want to know what's even worse? Is that bobblehead night was actually supposed to be on September 21st for the Dodgers. Yeah, Dodgers kind of yanked Julio Urias bobblehead night, and someone decided to make a joke about it, and someone decided to. I shouldn't be laughing at this, but someone decided to put Julio Urias in cuffs in a bobblehead. Anyway, unfortunately, yeah. Julio Urias decided to be dumb, and he decided to basically be a dum-dum and get himself arrested for domestic abuse. And like I said, this isn't his first time, which makes me wonder, why would you get yourself in trouble a second time? I just want to know that. Fooled me once, shame on you. Fooled me twice, now you're going to get the book. And he was released on bail, which is good, but the MLB is going to come cracking down on you, buddy. So, I don't know what to really say about this, except you might have ruined your career in terms of the MLB. And I got to give a huge shout out to the Los Angeles Dodgers in regards to all this. As the Dodgers said the day of this whole Julio Urias getting in trouble thing, they said on Twitter, they said, the Dodgers are replacing the Julio Urias bobblehead promotion for the night of September 21st with a giveaway of select premium bobbleheads to the first 30,000 fans in attendance. For more information, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. And many people were actually saying good move. And they were saying W move, and some were actually... And then someone did post the picture of Julio Urias in a bobblehead of being in cuffs. I shouldn't really, laugh at that, but still... Gosh dang it, Julio Urias. Why are you freaking dumb? Why couldn't you have learned from Trevor Bauer and all this whole thing? Why couldn't you have learned from him? And why couldn't you have learned from the first time around? It just doesn't make any sense. And now you might be getting the book thrown at you by the MLB. You might have avoided jail time, but now you could be facing suspension from the MLB. You're dumb. You're dumb, dude. I'm sorry. Why'd you have to do this thing? Especially since the Dodgers are pushing toward a World Series championship. I mean, they're going to win the division, that's for sure. And they're probably going to be the 1 or 2 seed in terms of the National League. But now, this whole thing is the last thing they should be seeing on their radar. So because of you, Julio Urias, having this whole distraction on the Dodgers dish, you are this week's Dumb of the Week, and I am not holding back. You are going to get this twice, my man. You learned from this. You should have learned from this the first time around, and you should have learned from this in terms of Trevor Bauer's mistake.
You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Tell it to him again, my man.
You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Seriously, I just don't get why people don't learn from their mistakes. Like I said, fooled us once, shame on us. Fooled us twice, we're not taking any chances. And I think, I'm hoping that, and I don't know if this will be true, but I'm hoping that I'm thinking that the Dodgers might not take any more chances, because you get second chances, but I don't know about third chances, because what happens if he does this a third time? Then that's 3 strikes and you're out. And I'm just going to say this whole thing is either going to bring the Dodgers closer, or it's going to basically divide them even more, or just crumble them like a cookie. But we'll see. On that note, that is going to do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for me to get on out of here, because I got to get myself together, because I got me a busy day. Ya dig? Thank you everyone for tuning in to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at work, I appreciate you. And if you listen at any time, any place, anywhere, I appreciate you. Shout out to Larry B, who was in the chat room for whenever he could be. I appreciate you for tuning in, brother. For everyone here at IE Sports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. Have yourself a great rest of the weekend. Be safe. It is going to be a scorcher for the most part, so pack your sunscreen. And please be a good person. Don't be like Julio Urias. And don't be dumb like the Angels, who decided to lose 3 straight to the Oakland A's. Don't be taking L's anywhere like they did. But anyway, I will be back on Monday for Set Point at my regular time. As for SoCal Supreme Sports Show, I will most likely be back next Friday at noon, maybe 11 a.m. again. It all depends, but we shall see. But until then, have yourself a great rest of the weekend. Be safe, be well. NFL is back. Let's go Chargers. Bolt the F up. Rams. Lose house. Rams house. We're taking over Lumen Field, even though Cooper Kupp is out with a hamstring injury. I'll see you Monday for Set Point, and just remember, SoCal is for SoCal. Peace!